Good day and welcome to Motivated by Jared Berger. This is the second talk show that we're having, and I'm your host for today. Today we have with us Josh Doman. Josh, thanks for being on the talk show today. I just want to say to you that you are going to change a lot of people's lives. It's not always easy experiencing what you have and being able to talk about it. So I want to say to you, as the host, that I'm very proud of you and as your friend for taking this brave move in doing what you're doing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you, Jared. I appreciate those kind words, and I always had a lot of respect for what you were doing. And now, as I sit here with my heart thumping, I have even more respect.
Great, man. So, getting straight into it, explain to us how the whole experience came about. My understanding is that you were supposed to stay there for 2 weeks in detention, and then all of a sudden it transferred into a longer stay unexpectedly. How did it all build up to that?
So my reason for all this happening was a document issue, an overstayed visa.
Okay.
And when I tried to sort it out, I was told I would be able to pay a fine, which was no issue.
Right.
But the next day I was told I would have to be detained while I wait for the new visa, and then
Okay.
I would be on my flight home. And after 14 days, they told me that I would actually be there for 7 months, which is where the mental games began. But
Wow.
I was not taken to my flight in March, which they told me was cancelled, but it did take off from Beijing and it did land in South Africa. So
Okay, so the flight was there, and then you were only supposed to stay there for 2 weeks detention, and then you were supposed to go from Beijing back to South Africa on a repatriation flight, eh?
yes.
That were organized for not only you but other people that were also stuck in China.
Well, my flight in March was a normal flight. It wasn't a repatriation flight.
Okay, it wasn't. Okay,
But,
perfect.
yeah, they didn't take me, and then the next day South Africa's airports went into lockdown, and then 2 days later the Beijing airports went into lockdown,
Right.
and that is where my journey began.
Okay, and did you already pay for those air tickets? And like obviously you
Yes.
didn't get to your flight, so
Yes, no,
so
30
you guys lost that money.
Yes, 30,000 rand, but I mean that does not matter,
Right.
yeah.
Okay, cool. So then going into the more detailed part of it, explain to us the life in the holding cell or in the prison, if that
Well,
works.
Technically, where I was not a prison. It was
Okay.
a detention center.
Okay.
To be honest, it was a lot worse. And if I'm very honest, they were illegally re-detaining prisoners where
Okay.
I was.
Okay.
And these guys were begging to go back to prison because the treatment in prison was a lot better. They had outside time, they had mattresses, you could sleep during the day, you had your freedom. Where I was locked in a small room. I had no one to talk to. There was absolutely nothing to
So
do.
completely in solitary, just you and your own mind.
I was actually packed like sardines with Myanmarese people, but they
Okay.
they do not speak Chinese or English. So for 2 months, I did not have anyone to talk to. I didn't even hear English get spoken until I changed cells,
Right.
where I met 2 African men.
Okay.
One was Jason from Ghana, who has currently been there for 3 years, locked in a room, and has lost his
Whoa.
he's lost his mind. It's a very, very sad, long story, but a good
Right.
one.
Right.
Having someone to talk to did change the experience, but watching COVID unfold and rampage the world is an undescribable feeling. While I knew I was trapped in a cage, I had no contact to family. That was the hardest part, knowing that my family doesn't know where I am and if I'm okay and if I'm alive.
I can imagine that being such a traumatic experience for your mom, not only for your mom, of course, for your whole family. But I mean, I remember even being the voice for you and a lot of other people when you couldn't be a voice for yourself, where I'm like, guys, we need to get Josh Doman back home, and we just friends, that are really well connected. And if we have to just try to jump into the mind of your mom and your family, I mean, I can't even begin to imagine how tough that must have been on them and for you, not knowing that, do my family know that I'm okay or not,
Yeah, the sad truth is I've actually given my mom PTSD, and even myself, and we are both still recovering from the situation. It's I can explain, but many people wouldn't understand. But I would like to take the moment to thank everyone for everything they did, for being my voice when I didn't have one.
Right.
It was truly life-changing when I got out. My father had mentioned to me that I was on the news, but I had no idea that I was the news.
You were the news.
And it really was, it touches you in a way that I can't describe, and it's something that I actually wouldn't take away. my whole experience I definitely wouldn't want to relive, but I wouldn't take it away. It changed me in many ways, because the best way to see what you're made out of is to be in a reality completely out of your control.
And your comfort zone.
And I was at the mercy of people that wanted us to suffer. So the punishment side of thing was unreal. We had to sit from 6 a.m. to 10 p.m. at night time.
Okay.
And I'm definitely not trying to play the victim, because my next thought is always that I watched an old man go through what I went through. And that was extremely sad. We were sleeping on wooden countertops. When I went in, it was snowing, so it was very cold. And when I left, it was blistering hot, so it was very hot. And the conditions were just unreal.
So tell us a little bit more about the sleeping conditions. Just explain to us how the whole setup worked in your cell that you were in. There's a toilet in the corner there, and then are there other people with you in the cell, or?
I know this is a family show, so I won't go into too much detail about the gruesome side of things, and I won't say it the way I want to.
Right.
There will be my chance. As you know, I have written a book about this and still am writing a book about this. It's an ongoing issue. The crimes that I witnessed are still going on. I'm in contact with families every day. In fact, someone I met there whose story is very heartbreaking, he will see his wife today for the first time in about 5 years. And that's
always
just a
light at the
beautiful
end of the
moment.
tunnel.
Always, always, always. I did meet incredible people despite being in a detention center.
Right.
But to answer your question, the sleeping conditions, we had a wooden surface.
Okay.
And we were packed like sardines, and it was tough, because the people, there's no other way to say it, like their mouths were all rotten. So you sleeping packed like sardines.
Okay.
You can imagine the smells, the sights. The toilet was just a hole in the floor. And in the room, we didn't get any outside time. My knees completely locked up after a while. My bones have deformed, my back, I have neck issues that I never had. And I'm not complaining. If anything, I'm saying I'm just so grateful to be alive. And it's the sleeping, we didn't get much sleep. They deprived us of sleep to keep us weak and nutrients. And at night time, you had to stand on the spot for 2 hours, 10 minutes every night, either from 10 to 12 or 12 to 2 or 2 to 4, 4 to 6, so on. And that was, again, just a form of punishment. And I cannot stress how standing on the spot for 2 hours, 10 minutes physically affects your bones, but also
on a daily basis,
mentally drains you every night. So when you're meant to sleep, where you're tired all day, because during the day you can't even stand or stretch, you can't even look out the window. You must sit. For half a year, I sat in a corner with my thoughts and my feelings and my stress, and I actually watched my body melt away. I actually somehow managed to pick up 15 kgs because all I ate was bread. I don't eat meat, so for breakfast, lunch, and dinner they gave me manto, which is a bread bun the size of your fist. So sitting all day and eating my stress, I picked up 15 kgs of love handle. But
nice. So going on to the topic then of the food, what besides, is that the only thing that you were able to eat, or were there other things that you could have eaten, or would they take food away from you at any stage? Did you decide maybe a way for you to possibly get deported back home was maybe to skip out on a few meals?
Yes, you're very right. When I changed cells, I was told, because after 2 months I had no contact with family, and I asked them every day. I can speak a little bit of Chinese, that's what got me able to speak to the gods. But when I changed cells, I was told by Jason that the only leverage I have is to do hunger strikes. So
hunger strike,
I told them that I would not eat until I could contact my family. So it took me 5 days of not eating before they gave me a phone call at night time, and I phoned my father. And that was my first time crying in the prison. And then 3 months later, my mother somehow organized a call with me, and that was my second time crying in the prison.
Okay, so you did the whole hunger strike thing?
Yes. Because of the prisoners that were illegally redetained, the third world country or Africans, they were fighting with their lives for their freedom. And it was very extreme. I saw very brutal beatings. I saw a man almost get pepper sprayed to death. He was blinded, he was suffocated. The true story, as I said, is very brutal, and I will save that for another time for the younger viewers, because we want to keep the message positive.
I appreciate that 100%. But the beautiful thing is, sometimes in life, when you're at your lowest point, And I know that for myself, where I've experienced a point in my life where I felt like I had no purpose, I had no meaning, no direction. And it's amazing how all of a sudden it's in those lowest moments of your life where you really start to truly, like you were saying earlier on, where you really start to truly believe, what type of person am I, you know? And then all of a sudden there's a positive from every negative if you see it. And I'm very proud of you for that, and just taking a brave step today and doing what you're doing, you know?
Thank you, Jared. Something that got me through the experience was knowing that I would turn it into a beneficial experience. That's just the type of person I am.
I love that about you.
And they say that you only appreciate something once it's gone. But for me personally, I only knew what to appreciate once everything had been taken away.
Right.
And I cannot... We were able to confirm that COVID had spread around the whole world. We were shown news at times,
Yeah.
and at some points they did show us newspapers in English.
Okay.
So it was all too real, even though it did feel like a dream. And looking back, it doesn't feel like it happened, but it did.
Right. Yeah, and I mean that's the beautiful part about it. Despite of everything that has happened to you, you're brave enough and bold enough to come and sit here and tell us your whole story. I do know that. Do you have a title for that book? Because I do know that's going to be a killer book. I really believe that that's a book that is going to change many people's lives. It's a book that I would want to read myself. Do you have a title for the book
Yes.
yet? Anything exciting that you could tell the viewers out there?
It's, as I said, it's still a work in progress, but
Of course.
the book will be called Free Josh.
Free
and
Josh, love it.
It will be part 1, because there will be...
So the whole series involved into it.
Yes, I've been through a few other experiences that are very life-changing,
Right.
such as going to an uninhabited island in the Philippines to do like a bit of a fast there.
Okay.
But that is obviously another topic. But the book does include other aspects of my life,
Right.
and I've always been a very happy, positive person, and that's why when I was put in a situation where I saw the worst of what the world had to offer, I know that many people will have a different connotation of what the worst is, but
Of course.
this situation I would not wish on my worst enemy. I mean, the truth of the matter is that they were even forcefully taking blood, and I will not go on to that topic, but it is the stuff that like
that you were
from horror
exposed
movies.
to, exactly, that you were exposed to and that you managed to overcome. I think what you're saying now, the reality is you sitting here now, we have Josh Doman Auntie, as the boys would call you. We have you back, family and friends have you, and I know that when we were in quarantine in Johannesburg, you arrived there the next day after me, and it was such a feeling of peace because, you know, I do believe we all as human beings in some way are connected. You know, when you're overseas, you can still feel the love of your mom, even though you're not in the same room as her, type of example.
Exactly.
And when you arrived back home the day after I arrived back, it was an amazing feeling of peace in my heart and in my soul, and for so many other people out there. But going on to another question that I have for you, for those children out there, or even for people in our age group, or even older, I wouldn't say there's any age to it, but we do know the future world is the younger youth of today. What advice would you give these kids or anyone that's going down a direction in life where we're talking about drugs or murder or theft, anything that's out of the ordinary that you know is going to have huge repercussions and consequences to those actions and those decisions that they make?
Everyone has had a tough life. Life is deep.
100%.
Everyone has a history and their battles.
Right.
But no matter how terrible you think life might be, it will be a lot worse in prison. Prison, you will find yourself in a situation where you do not wish you were alive, but
Right.
there's no way for you to end your life, and you will be in that reality suffering until it ends. And no matter how bad it is, prison is a lot worse.
There is a step worse to that.
There's a side of life that not many people know about, and I believe in the signs, and I always like to follow them and connect the dots. And last night I met a man out of the blue, by chance, some would say.
Right.
And he spent 35 years working in a prison in West Bank in the maximum security. And to be honest, Jared, last night I almost got cold feet because I just have so much to say. I don't know what to say and how to say it.
Right.
And sometimes I can't control my emotions. But he told me, he actually looked me in the eyes and said, thank you. After I told him what I'd been through, he said, thank you for going through that. And you need to raise awareness about these topics, these issues.
100% why we're here today.
There's been many people before me that have been through a lot worse, and there's many people that will be after me in the prisons.
For sure.
And what's happening there is just inhumane, and us as humans should come together to make a difference, because there's innocent people that are suffering. And like I said, I'm not trying to say what I went through was bad. What I saw happen was a lot worse. Females went through what I went through. There were even minors where I was being kept illegally, the Myanmarese people.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, life is so beautiful and precious. And no matter how bad it is, as you said, there's always light at the end of the tunnel. And nothing can truly block out all that light. There's no situation that can truly block out the beauty of life. And
yeah, and I truly believe that, you know, just because the sun isn't shining doesn't mean the beauty is only there in the daytime. It's still there in the nighttime. It's there all day, every day, all night, every night. It is always around you. And just because you can't always see it doesn't mean it's not there, you know. And I think that's the crucial part about understanding society and people like you and I coming together where we can try and help and make a difference, you know, because like world famous speaker says, Tony Robbins, where focus goes, energy flows. And so you just need to ask yourself, where are you going to devote your focus to? Is it going to be to the negative aspects of life that you can't control? Or is it going to be towards trying to focus on the beauty that is always all around you all the time, you know? So I really appreciate everything that you had said to us today. Your story has changed my life, and I know it will change many other people's lives out there. And yeah, thank you once again for your time. I really appreciate it. Love you, Joshi.
I appreciate it also, Jared. And if I can just say one more thing, my message would be to the world, if I could say one thing, would be let's unite. Let's come together. Let's stop dividing and let's help each other.
Let's do it.
We're all in this boat rowing. And when I get tired, I'm not going to pull less harder, because I know my friends like Jared and my family are pulling just as hard.
100%.
And I know the world can change, because the bird sits on the branch because its faith is in its own wings, not the branch. And because of people like Jared who just want to help,
my man,
I know the world will change.
We're making a change right here, right now.
It's always changing. And I know there's always going to be people that have something negative to say, but Jared, what you're doing is truly special and amazing. And anyone that needs help, reach out. Like, you're not alone. We've been through it all. We've been through a lot. If I haven't been through it, I know someone that has. We know people that can help. Everybody has had the suicidal thoughts and period in their life. You're not alone. And if you need to talk to someone, if you need a friend, if you need to go for a peanut butter milkshake with someone, we're here.
We're here for you guys. And like I said to you guys in last week's video, don't be afraid to reach out. If I can't help you, I will know someone that can, because as bad as this big world is, and it's crazy how we never learned this at school, but life somehow has a way of giving you a little bit of a slap in the face where it brings your feet back down to earth. You know, the fact of the matter is, we're not in this world alone. We're here together to help each other, and it's hard enough. And I appreciate exactly what you're saying there. It's time for us to unite together to make the change in the world that we want to see in the future world. And that goes over and beyond just the life that we're living now. It goes all the way into the life that we leave behind for our own family one day, for our wife, for our kids, and the legacy that we leave behind. And what type of legacy do we want to leave behind? And I think just videos like this, where we're reaching out to a lot of people, we're changing their lives, we're going to look back on this day one day and be like, you know what, we changed the world in a very special way. You know, so thanks once again, Josh. I appreciate it. I just want to take this quick moment to say thanks to Fish Eagle Manor for sponsoring us the facility for today. You can see there's a beautiful swimming pool with some shading in the back over there, and you know, they didn't have to, but they did generously give us the spot to use to do our talk for today. So Fish Eagle Manor, we really do appreciate that a lot. Thank you so much. And then guys, next week we have another beautiful story. It's featuring a lady by the name of Loyiso. I recently met Loyiso and I told her about this vision of mine in trying to change the way we think and saying no to negativity. And Loyiso has a beautiful story about how HIV and AIDS has saved her life. And that's a beautiful thing, you know, because there's always that stereotype person with HIV and AIDS, and the way that society sometimes think it's against, you know, it's not for, it's against the person and their problem. And this woman has a beautiful story to tell, and I hope you guys stay tuned for that. So Loyiso, next week Saturday between 1:30 and 2 o'clock, I'm going to be posting the video about how HIV and AIDS has saved her life. And then I also just want to put it out there to say that I was finally able to get a sponsor for my branding. So if you look over here, myself and Josh, we're representing MDJB, where we're coming together to change the world. And if ever you guys were wondering the reason why there's a cross going between the MB and the JB, was because it's to say no to negative thinking, guys. So that's just a little bit behind the brand. But stay tuned for Loyiso's story next week Saturday, and love you guys lots. Have a good weekend. Anything else, Josh?
One tree doesn't make a forest, and one hand cannot clap alone. So let's come together, guys. Let's truly unite and make a change in our communities.
Beautiful. Very well said. Thank you so much. Cool, guys. See you next Saturday. Love you.